I want to make a video about the pros and cons of running your own business. This is primarily steered at sort of the experience I've had at creating Sync My Music, all the different services and offerings that I've had throughout the years. But it can be very relevant to those of you that are getting into sync licensing and wanting to become your own boss, because essentially that's what you're going to be doing, even though you're going to be working with libraries and serving them all the time. You are essentially your own boss when you do this full time, at least get to the point where this is your full time income. So I wanted to make a sort of real brief three pros, three cons list. And this is something that I think I wish I would have been told before starting my business. I'm really glad that I did, but I do think that there are some things that need to be very just spelled out in black and white terms so that you know whether or not going down the sort of self-employment, starting your own business, or maybe even sync licensing is really for you. I really don't think it's for everybody. And I don't think that you are better or worse if you own your own business or start your own thing. I just think it sort of fits certain people's personalities. And I'll tell you in this video, there's some parts of running my own business that does not fit my personality, and I struggle with it a lot. I'm glad that I do it, and I'm glad that it's something that I continue doing, but I want to make sure that you guys are at least clear on what it really feels like running your own business, at least from my point of view, okay? Let's start with the positives, of course. First pro is the obvious thing is you can really be your own limit in terms of how much income, money you want to make, right? So if you have a day job and you've got a boss, well, you can maybe get scheduled raises, you can maybe apply for other positions, but they're pretty much capping you because you're really selling your time for your money, right? So when you run your own business, though, you get a lot more freedom and control there. You can basically raise your prices if you want to give yourself a raise, granted that your customers will and can pay your higher prices. You can just try to get more customers. You can do more advertising, more word of mouth campaigns, more marketing, more social media stuff. So you can basically control, in a certain extent, how many customers are coming to you and checking you out. You can scale up your offering. So if you've only been doing a couple of things here and there, you can basically start to hire a team or automate some of your process. You can literally scale up how much of your product or service that you're offering, and you actually can make a lot more money. And you are basically your own limit. You can decide, do I want to make this much money this year, or do I want to make that much money? And how much more stress and time and energy do I really want to put into earning more income? So that's been an amazing part of running my own business, is being able to say, all right, this year, how much money do I want to make? What do I want my income to really look like? And what kind of additional work and inventory and effort do I have to put in to raise my income? And I get to make that choice. Is it worth it? Sometimes, and many times I found out it's really not, to just make a couple of extra bucks, but to literally lose out on sleep and sanity many times is not worth the trade. But you get to make that choice, at least when you are, working as an employee for a company. You don't get as many of those choices, okay? Another pro is that you can get more freedom and control with your life. Now, I put can in big capital letters for myself because, as you've maybe heard, many people who run their own businesses, their business start to control them, and they lose all their freedom because they're literally trapped by their business, and they are constantly answering emails and dealing with customer service, and they just can't get away from the business, and they have no personal life, no family life at all. But it is possible, though, once you sort of get into your industry, whatever it is, to have some more control over your schedule, or maybe even contracting out some of the busy work, some of the customer service stuff that you don't really want to deal with, that are just taking you away from what you really want to focus on. You can also say no to certain customers. You can say no to certain people that are just draining you of energy and draining you of time that you really don't want to give to them. I've done that a few times, actually, since running my business, is said no and canceled and blocked people that are just draining me. And I said, I don't care how much money you want to throw my way. I do not want to coach you. I don't want to counsel you. I don't want to see your name on my platforms, because you are an energy drain. And so as the owner of the business, I have a right to refuse the service to the people that are doing that to me. So that's a really awesome thing. When you're an employee, a lot of times, nope. You just have to say, okay, I'll refer you up to somewhere higher. Or, if there's a client that's just really a drain, you hate them, can't do much about them. You don't have the authority to fire them many times. You have to just sort of say, okay, got to bite the bullet on this one and just kind of go forward. So your energy gets drained, all right? And of course, just getting, if you run a successful business and you sort of make some decent money with it, you get that financial independence, knowing that I'm good. Like, I've got savings, and if my entire business crumbles, which is always everybody's fear, but at least I know that I've done really, really well, and I've put something away, and I've got some security here, some sense of security. So all these things can give you this bigger freedom, a feeling of freedom or control with your business. Again, if you do things properly. And then the last pro, which I think is the biggest one, is the sort of feeling of pride that you get when you create value for people that you're offering your service or your product to. Okay. So getting testimonials, getting positive reviews online, and my favorite is getting success stories. Like when I get students that email me and let me know that something that I've done, some service, some video, some feedback I gave, something gave them this forward momentum, and now they're working with a library, they're getting placements, and they're basically blooming in their career. That's just like solid gold to me. I just love that. It makes me feel so good that I basically created success, or at least I created something positive in the world from nothing. I mean, before Sync My Music existed, there was just nothing. I didn't have anything. I wasn't offering anything. And from every new video or service or platform that I created, from those things that came from nothing, these new careers are being blossomed, and people are finding motivation and abundance and success, even in small ways, some bigger ways. But they're seeing some sort of positive direction in their life and in their sync licensing career. And to me, it's like, I don't think I would have gotten something that big, that feeling of like, wow, I really made a positive difference in the world if I had been working for another company. I mean, I think you can get it obviously from other companies, but it's not the same as knowing that you yourself from nothing created that and saw it blossom. So that's a huge one for me. And so those are basically the three biggest pros. Now let's get into the cons, because these are the ones I really want to be honest with you guys about, to let you know this is why sometimes being your own boss, even as a sync licensing producer, might not be right for you. Okay. Number one is the obvious one: responsibility. Okay. There is no complaint department that I get to go to when things are going horribly. In the last couple of weeks, I've had a website go down. I've had all of my websites go down. I've had my network, my Sync Academy network and Pro Feedback network, have issues loading and being available for my members. I've had other tech issues in the past. I've had, you name it, the type of customer service nightmares of people doing crazy things and making things very difficult for me. I've made big mistakes where I've screwed things up royally for some of my customers and had to sort of apologize for that and fix it. So I've had every type of problem you can have with a business. And when they come to you, you know, your first instinct is to want to like point at somebody like, well, it's my credit card processor. It was, the people that are creating my platforms for me. It's my email server. You know, you want to, your instinct is to want to point at people. But when you're the boss and you're in control and you started this whole party, all fingers and all eyes are looking back at you. And so you really do have to learn how to take responsibility. So it's something that I've had to learn to do as time has gone on. I was not great at it in the beginning. I always want to point to somebody else. And as time went on, I realized, the responsible thing is to accept, responsibility for it. It's my business. It's my platform. It's my customer service, right? And I found, though, the more that I do own it, the more that I just be honest with my customers and say, you know what, I screwed up on that. My bad. The more they feel good about me, and they feel good about the platform, they feel good about my business, and I actually get a more positive response rather than trying to pass the buck off. So it's all on you. If you're going to be the boss, if you're going to be the sync licensing producer working with a library, 100% of that's going to go right down on you. So if you send them some tracks that have, uncleared samples or copyright infringing samples, can't point to a website and say, well, they gave me an end user license agreement, said they were clear. All on you. So again, just make sure you're clear on that. The second one, which has been still a difficult one for me, I've gotten better at it, but I still struggle with it, is leaving work at work. So if you're an employee and you have a day job, you can kind of go to your office, hopefully, and get your job done, work with all the stressors of the day, and then come home. And then you're literally in a new building, a new place. You're back home. You can kind of leave a lot of that stuff behind, hopefully, and you can just have a nice, quiet family life. I mean, maybe this is not describing any human being that any of us know, but that's the idea, is that you could potentially, hey, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, ding, clocked out. I'm not on work mode anymore. When you're the boss, when you're the owner of the company, when you're a sync licensing producer, it's really hard to leave anything that happened negatively during your work hours and leave it there. Especially for me, I work from home. I literally just have one room in my house that is my sort of home office / music room. And if something really stressful happens for me, a lot of times that comes right to bed with me. And I think about that, and it keeps me up, and I struggle with that. So, for me, one of the things that I've been trying to do, which I'm not always good at, is trying to get all of my work duties, especially customer service, emails, responding to emails, looking at comments, looking at anything that has to do with sort of a lot of people out on the internet. I want to do all of that by like noon, 1 or 2 p.m. at the latest. I don't want to have, because potentially if I get a really troubling email or a really tough customer service issue or really just like a negative comment on YouTube, even just something as simple as that. But if I read it at 5 or 6 p.m. and it gets my blood boiling and I get mad or I get worried or I get concerned or I feel like guilty because I screwed something up, that can easily just drift off in me and carry and stay with me when I go to bed. And then it ruins my sleep. And then the whole next day is compromised. So this is the kind of stuff that really does, it's just this constant like practice. It's basically a discipline of learning how to say, this is work. Work stays here. And when I walk out, for me, it's about like trying to walk out of this room and going and being with my family. Work and all the stressors stay here. And it's not a perfect 100% black and white thing for me, but it's the best I can do for now. And the only other way that I think you can get better at that is essentially by going and renting an office somewhere where you literally are outside of your house, completely separated physically. That might help a little bit, because then you literally have to get in your car, drive there, drive back. There's a little bit of a transition phase between your home and your work life. But if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, it's definitely something you need to be aware of, okay? And then the last one, this is the one that I struggle with the most, actually, believe it or not, is I really do think that if you're going to be a business owner, you really have to constantly reinvent and just update your business pretty much all the time. And this is something that I have always bumped my head up against. And what happens for me, I can tell you, is that I remember when I started Sync My Music, the only thing that I was offering was the syndicate. It was my mentorship group. It's still existing now, but I'm definitely not very public about it, and I don't really advertise it that much. And I remember we got that started. We were going for about a year and a half, 2 years, doing great. We're bringing on awesome libraries. We're cranking out great music, getting great placements. Opportunities were opening up, and that was cool. And then at some point, I just kind of started getting bored. And this might be just my personality, of course, but I started getting bored because I was like, okay, we're just doing sort of the same thing. Members come in, we get them feedback, they get their tracks, we go out there. And for me, mentally, I was just not being challenged by it. I wasn't excited by it because it wasn't new anymore. And I don't know, there's just something about it that just wasn't quite, I don't know, it just wasn't scratching my itch, so to speak. So then I created Sync Edge, so that I realized there was a lot of members that were looking for a way to get their music into libraries, and they wanted to know which were the good, legit libraries, which libraries are actually got, they've got some sort of juice behind them, and how do you submit to these libraries to increase your odds, essentially, of getting accepted. So that conversation sort of came out organically from me talking to syndicate members, and then boom, Sync Edge was this new idea, and I was just on fire. I felt great. I loved it. The members were having a great time with it. I saw a lot of success stories really early on. And again, that excitement came back, and it was this cool thing of building something new, right? So that was really fun. And then that sort of wore off. And then I thought, okay, what are we going to do next? I think the next thing I did was like the Sync 60 challenge, which was really fun. Same process. That was really exciting. And then that became sort of standard. Okay. Then I think Sync Academy was after that. That was the same thing. Another brand new service. Really cool. And that one was like a really different one because that became a sort of social media platform, which included a lot more than what Sync Edge was doing. So there was just a lot more that I had to do with that. And then that became sort of just the standard thing going on. So I realized, okay, what do we do next? And we did a couple of boot camp things. We did a couple of different offers and little mini courses. Sync Psych. I can't even remember what I called it. Sync Psych is a series of tutorials that I started creating at the end of the pandemic, or at least the end of 2020, when thinking about my mindset and my mental health became the focus of my life. And I realized I want to really share these techniques that are really working for me and that have also worked for my career. And then fast forward to, now Pro Feedback is the newest service that I've put together. So I've realized for myself, I have to be doing something like that every so often, maybe every 6 months, every year. I have to reinvent my business. I have to offer something new. I have to create something new. I've got to create energy into my business. If I don't do it, we definitely have some great suggestions from the customers and from the members and all that kind of stuff. And some of those are feasible. Some of them I can't do, but it's with me. If I'm not putting that energy into my business just goes stale, and I can feel it. And that's the part of running a business that's really difficult sometimes, is things are running smoothly, but your excitement's kind of gone because it's not fresh or new. And again, that's just, I think, part of my personality. I'm always craving novelty. I'm craving stimulation. I'm craving a challenge. And so if things are just working too well, which is a beautiful, wonderful problem to have, I can get a little bit bored, and that's when I can get a little bit lazy, and that's when I can kind of start to like take things for granted and not really put in my best effort, because I don't know, it just becomes kind of like a day job again. So if you've never heard that from somebody who runs a business, it's definitely something that I am now realizing that it's sort of like it comes with the territory. So, in about a year or so, don't be surprised if you see me launching something new or doing something brand new or trying something brand new at least to get myself more energized and build a new challenge for myself. It's just something that's, I think, just necessary. So, all right, guys, thank you for letting me indulge you on this. I just wanted to put this out there for those of you that are interested in starting your own business or getting involved in sync licensing. Maybe there's something in this that can help you steer clear or decide whether or not this is going to be something you really want to get involved with.